In this next tutorial, I want to show you how to create a simple grab interactable that can be activated. And as a bonus, I also want to show you one that's not symmetrical in every direction, because that changes how it attaches to your controller or hand. Okay, so this is the cylinder that we made in the other tutorials. And in this case, I want to turn it into sort of like a, okay, so in this case, we're going to grab this cylinder, and when we click our trigger button, we're going to turn it on. It'll spray out some kind of particles. It'll be like a confetti sprayer or something. So we'll start the same way we did with the ball we made last tutorial. We're going to add component and make an XR grab interactable here, which has a rigid body that it comes with if the object didn't have one already. And now let's give it an activate interactable event. So what we're going to do is, remember, hover is when you're touching something, select is when you're grabbing something with the grip button, and activate is when you click the trigger button. So we're going to have this trigger what's called a particle system. And a particle system is a little fountain that Unity can generate particles from. I'm going to right click on the cylinder to child this particle system under the cylinder. And we're going to scroll down to effects and make a particle system. Wow, so there it is. That's the default particle system. It's kind of flying out the front and making these big soft white particles that hang around for a while. So particle systems come with like truly ridiculous number of settings. I'm not even going to attempt to teach you like all that's involved in particle systems right now, because I don't know all that's involved in particle systems, but we can make adjustments to some of the simple things. Like one thing I noticed is that the sort of cone that they're coming out at seems really big. So we could shrink that so that it's not taking over as much of the screen using scale. We can also adjust rotation so that it's pointing sort of out the direction we want it to. I think I'm going to have the sort of business end, so to speak, be facing the bottom for right now. And then I can also use position to make it seem to come out of the end of the cylinder. So now we've got kind of a sprayer that's spraying white particles into the ground. The start color could change the color of them. So I'm going to go with purple just for fun, or magenta or fuchsia or whatever your view on that color is. So that's what they're going to look like for now. But you can also change things like their shape, and not only the shape of the system, but also the shape of the objects, and how they change over time, and all kinds of stuff can be associated with a particle system. But for now, this'll do. Okay, and then one more thing that I want to make you aware of that we need to change in the particle system settings. This is a little unique to particle systems, though. If you've worked with audio, you might recognize this setting, play on awake. This is checked by default when we hit play, when runtime starts, so to speak. When this object awakes, it's already emitting particles, and you can see them kind of jumping around through the table there. So we want this to start not playing on awake. So we're going to uncheck this because we're going to click a button to make it play for the first time. So now we go into cylinder, and then in our XR grab interactable, we want to use activate, because remember, activate is the trigger button. So we're going to add something to this list. What we'll add is the particle system object. And then in the function, we're going to go down to particle system, and we will choose play. So that's a function that plays the particle system. Then simultaneously, while we're here, we might as well, when we activate, we play. When we deactivate, we're going to address that particle system and stop. So if we hit play now, we ought to be able to take control of our controller, grab with the G key, and now the left mouse click is our trigger in the device simulator. And there, while I'm holding left mouse click, are our particles. And when I let go, they stop. Okay, so far so good. The only other thing that we want to affect here is I don't really like how I'm holding this object from the middle and it's pointing down. If this is going to be sort of like a particle hose or a particle blaster or something, I think it should be pointing out away from me. So I need to change the orientation of where this thing attaches to the Ray interactor or the other controller's direct interactor. So let's get out of play mode. And that's the last thing I'll show you in this tutorial. So the grab interactable has something called an attach transform here that currently is set to none. And what the attach transform is the location where this object will attach to your hand or your controller. So right now, the attach transform being none, it's just the center of the object. It's where your sort of 3D cursor is when you select the object. So this object happens to be origin like right in the middle, and that's why it's attaching to the middle. I want it to attach somewhere else. So the way I do this is I provide a transform, that is to say an object with a XYZ position, into this little variable here. So easy way to do that is to create a child object under the object in question. So that means the cylinder. We're going to create an empty. So I right-clicked on cylinder, I chose create empty, and I'm going to call this thing grab attach. It doesn't need to look like anything, it doesn't need to have any components, all it needs is a transform. And this transform we can rotate or reposition. So if I remember correctly, this is the x-axis that we need to turn in, and I'm guessing we need to turn 90 degrees. And then we're going to do the cylinder and drag this grab attach object to the attach transform slot there. And then we're going to hit play to test it. And if it turns out that we were right about our transform, when we hit G, it should turn. And then when we hit left click, yeah, the front end is facing away from us. And now we've made sort of a confetti blaster pointing away from us. You can do more than just rotate on this attach transform. And if you find that it's attaching, still to the middle, like and it's halfway through your controller or something like that, you can make adjustments to this grab attach. So, if 90 isn't perfect, you can move it back and forth a little bit, and you can position as well. So if I head on over there and grab it in headset, I'll see it does turn the correct way, but it's kind of like got my controller way up in the center still, and my controller's mostly disappeared. So I would probably want to move this on the y-axis as well. So I'm going to take a look at the grab attach, and in this case I'm thinking of it kind of visually. I'm going to use the 3D cursor to move it to where I think I want it to attach to the controller, and that's like on the far end, which it turns out is just very close to like probably just 1 on the y. So let's try 1 on the y. And, we're doing a little bit of guess and check here. I'll go over, grab it with my controller. Okay, pretty close. I don't think I actually want it to attach to my weird little poke antenna there though, so I might need to move it back a little bit. Maybe 0.9 is going to be the answer. But this kind of thing, once you have the grab attach set, is sort of set and forget. So you know, the first time you create this, it'll be a little fussy getting it perfect, but then after that, you will know where the grab attach is for that object, and if you needed to make more of these kinds of objects, they would all have the same grab attach. Of course, a different model with a different shape. You know, if this were a pickaxe in Minecraft, or if it were a sword or something in Skyrim, you know, you would want it pointing differently. You would want to grab a different part of the model, and so the grab attach, the attach transform, is how you would change that.